The key burned in my hand as I entered. My stepmom waited, her body a temptation I couldn't flee. The hotel key sat like a molten ember in my pocket, its weight a constant torment through a sleepless night filled with Sophia's sultry whispers. I'm Ryan Caldwell, 24, a man teetering on the edge of a moral abyss in our polished suburban home outside Portland, Oregon. Her voice, "Come tomorrow. I'll take you both," replayed in my mind, a haunting melody that stirred the fire in my veins. Dad, Mark, remained blissfully unaware, his snores a dull drone against the tempest of my thoughts, while our once sacred house now pulsed with Sophia's seductive energy, her spicy vanilla perfume clinging to the curtains, her silk robes teasing my every stolen glance. I couldn't close my eyes without seeing her, her green dress slipping to reveal the quivering expanse of her thighs, her sensitive peaks outlined against the flickering candlelight, her moans a siren's call that echoed in my dreams. The guilt gnawed at me, memories of Mom's death flooding back, her frail hand clutching mine, the sterile hospital air, her final breath a whisper I failed to catch. Yet Sophia's vitality, her brazen allure, drowned that sorrow, replacing it with a hunger I couldn't name. The house had transformed under her touch. Mirrors now lined the walls, reflecting her curves at every turn, silk sheets rumpled on her bed, a constant reminder of her late-night trysts. The next morning, I lied to Dad about a job interview, my voice trembling as I fumbled with my keys, my hands slick with nervous sweat. Sophia caught my eye over a breakfast of cold cereal, her lips curling into a knowing smirk that sent a shiver down my spine. She wore a thin satin camisole, the fabric sheer enough to hint at the swell of her bosom, her nipples faintly visible as she leaned forward to pass me the milk. Her foot brushed my calf under the table, a deliberate stroke that ignited a jolt of heat through my loins, my arousal stirring beneath my jeans. "Good luck," she purred, her voice a velvet trap, her gaze daring me to act, her tongue flicking across her lips in a silent promise. The hotel loomed on the city's edge, a sleek tower of glass and shadow that seemed to pulse with forbidden intent. Room 412. My heart thudded a frantic rhythm as I approached, the key trembling in my hand, my palms damp with anticipation. I knocked, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the quiet corridor, and the door creaked open. There she was, Sophia, draped in a crimson silk robe that parted to expose the creamy expanse of her thighs, her bosom heaving with each sultry breath, the fabric slipping to reveal the shadowed hint of her intimate lace. "You came," she whispered, her voice a caress that stroked my soul, her eyes devouring me with a hunger that mirrored my own, her lips wet with unspoken desire. The room was a den of sin, a sanctuary of forbidden pleasure, dim red lights casting sensual shadows that danced across the walls, rose petals scattered like crimson confessions on the velvet chaise, champagne bubbling in a crystal glass that caught the light like liquid desire. Sophia stepped closer, her robe slipping further to reveal the swell of her hidden curves, the silk sliding against her skin with a whisper that sent a shiver down my spine. Her scent enveloped me, a heady mix of spicy vanilla and raw femininity, like a lover's embrace that promised ecstasy. "Lock the door," she commanded, her breath hot against my neck, her lips grazing my earlobe with a teasing nip that made my knees weaken. I obeyed, my hands trembling as I turned the bolt, the click resounding like a commitment to sin, my arousal straining against my jeans, a throbbing pulse I couldn't suppress. She poured champagne with a grace that was almost hypnotic, her fingers lingering on the glass, the liquid shimmering like her eyes, a reflection of the lust that burned between us. She handed it to me, her touch electric, her nails brushing my wrist with a deliberate slowness that sent sparks up my arm. "To secrets," she toasted, her lips brushing the rim, leaving a smear of glossy temptation that I longed to taste. I drank, the bubbles tingling on my tongue, mirroring the heat surging through my groin, my hardness pressing painfully against the fabric. She sat on the chaise, her legs crossing with a slow, deliberate motion that revealed more of her creamy thigh, her robe parting to hint at the lace guarding her intimate heat, the shadow of her forbidden zone a tantalizing promise. "He's not here yet," she murmured, patting the seat beside her, her voice a siren's lure that pulled me closer. "But you are." I sat, my thigh pressing against hers, her warmth seeping into my flesh like a slow burn, igniting a fire below my waist. Her hand slid to my knee, her nails grazing upward with a feather-light touch that made my breath hitch, stopping just short of my throbbing bulge, her fingers hovering with a tease that drove me wild. "You've been watching me," she teased, her voice low and thick with desire, her eyes locking on mine with a promise of ecstasy that made my heart race. I swallowed, my breath ragged, her proximity a drug I couldn't resist, her scent filling my lungs with every inhale. "I saw your texts," I admitted, my voice hoarse with need, my confession hanging between us like a shared secret. She laughed, a sound that vibrated through my chest, her hand inching higher, her fingers tracing the edge of my desire with a maddening slowness. "Good," she purred. "Then you know what I crave. Your touch, your heat, the way you'd fill me with your longing." Her words painted vivid images in my mind, her body arching beneath me, her moans echoing as I explored her depths, and I shifted, my arousal pressing harder against her touch. She leaned closer, her bosom brushing my arm, the fabric of her robe slipping to reveal the edge of her lace, her sensitive peaks faintly outlined. "Touch me," she whispered, her hand guiding mine to her thigh, her skin hot and smooth, her heat radiating through the thin barrier of silk. I hesitated, my fingers trembling, but her gaze held me captive, a command wrapped in desire, and I let my hand slide upward, the lace yielding to my touch, her breath catching in a soft moan that fueled my hunger. The door clicked open, shattering the intimate spell, and a man entered, tall, dark-haired, mid-30s, his suit tailored to his muscular frame, his presence a stark contrast to the room's sultry haze. Sophia's lover. My stomach twisted, a surge of jealousy flaring in my chest, but my excitement surged, a dark thrill coursing through my veins. "Ryan, meet Daniel," she said, her tone casual yet dripping with mischief, her eyes gleaming with a wicked delight that promised more. Daniel smirked, his gaze raking over me, assessing my arousal with a knowing nod. "She said you might join us," he said, his voice smooth as silk, his confidence a challenge that made my pulse quicken. Sophia stood, her robe slipping to her waist, exposing the quivering swell of her curves, her skin flushed with anticipation, the silk pooling at her feet like a discarded vow. She moved to Daniel, her lips brushing his neck with a soft moan, her bosom pressing against his chest, then turned to me, her hand beckoning with a sultry invitation that sent a shiver down my spine. "We share," she whispered, her voice a command that stirred my loins, her body a bridge between us. I froze, my hardness aching with a need I couldn't deny, torn between disgust at her infidelity and the raw desire to partake in her forbidden game. She straddled Daniel's lap, her robe hiked up to reveal the lace guarding her intimate core, her moans growing louder as she ground against him, her hips moving with a rhythm that echoed in my ears. Her eyes locked on mine, a hungry intensity that drew me in, her hand reaching for mine with a possessive grip. "Watch or join," she gasped, her fingers guiding mine to her thigh, her heat searing my palm, her skin slick with desire. I stepped closer, my resolve crumbling under her spell, her scent pulling me into her web of lust. Her fingers intertwined with mine, sliding upward with a slow deliberation, teasing the edge of her forbidden zone, her breath quickening with every inch, her moans a melody that drowned my resistance. Daniel watched, his smirk widening, his hands resting on her hips, guiding her movements with a possessive ease. "She loves an audience," he murmured, his voice a low growl that sent a jolt through me. Sophia laughed, a sound that vibrated through the room, her body arching as she pressed herself against him, her lace shifting to reveal more of her intimate heat. "Touch her," Daniel urged, his eyes challenging me, and I let my hand slide further, my fingers brushing the lace, feeling her tremble beneath my touch, her gasp a reward that fueled my hunger. The room spun with their shared lust, the mirror reflecting our tangled forms, her quivering curves, my tense arousal, Daniel's confident grip, a tableau of forbidden passion. She leaned back, pulling me closer, her lips hovering near mine, her breath hot and ragged. "Taste me," she whispered, her tongue teasing the air, and I leaned in, my lips grazing hers, the contact a spark that ignited a wildfire within me. The tension reached a fever pitch as Daniel's phone rang, a shrill intrusion that shattered the erotic haze, pulling him from her embrace with a reluctant groan. Sophia pouted, sliding off his lap, her robe barely clinging to her sweat-slicked skin, her curves glistening in the dim light, her sensitive peaks outlined against the fabric. "He'll be back," she promised, her voice husky with unspent desire, turning to me with a predatory gleam that made my heart race. She pressed her body against mine, her bosom grazing my chest through my shirt, the heat of her skin searing me, her hand sliding to my waistband, fingers tracing the outline of my hardened length with a slow, deliberate stroke that sent shivers up my spine. "Stay," she breathed, her lips hovering over mine, her tongue teasing the air with a promise of taste, her breath mingling with mine in a dance of forbidden lust. I groaned, my body betraying me, my arousal throbbing against her touch, my mind reeling with the scent of her, spicy vanilla mixed with the musk of her arousal. The door creaked, a shadow loomed, and Dad's voice cut through the haze like a blade. "Sophia?" Panic seized me, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm. She shoved me behind the chaise with a swift motion, her robe falling to the floor in a silken cascade, her nakedness a shield as she stood, her curves exposed to the dim light. "Just a friend, Mark," she lied, her voice steady despite the flush on her cheeks, but her eyes darted to me, a silent plea thick with desire, her body trembling with the aftermath of our near encounter. I hid, my breath shallow, my body pressed against the cold wall, the key still burning in my pocket, her naked promise lingering in the air like a tangible force. The floorboards creaked. Dad's steps grew closer, his silhouette filling the doorway, his voice a low growl. "What's going on?" he demanded, his tone laced with suspicion. Sophia stepped forward, her hands raised in a placating gesture, her naked form a distraction that held his gaze for a moment. I held my breath, my arousal still pulsing, my mind racing with the possibility of discovery. Would he find us? Or would I escape this trap of sin, my body still aching for the taste of her forbidden depths? The silence stretched, a taut wire ready to snap, as Sophia's voice softened, her words a delicate weave of deception. "Just a late-night chat, darling," she cooed, her hips swaying as she moved toward him, her nakedness a lure to divert his attention. But his eyes narrowed, shifting past her, searching the shadows where I hid. My heart thudded, the key's edge digging into my palm, a reminder of the choice I faced: flee and preserve my soul, or stay and surrender to the abyss of her desire. The door creaked again, a sound that echoed with impending doom, and I knew the moment of truth was near.